Hi, welcome back to Saying My Friend Says, the one who got me started on this idea to do this. Welcome back. I understand why she says it now, because I'm glad you're here. So before I rambled on in the last video, I had a plan. So I'm going to try to hit that one now. I told you my story doesn't have a beginning or an ending. So my stories are going to be all over the place, and I'm going to give you time frames, if I have them, that are going to jump around. Another reason I can't write a book, because it all comes to me at different times. And I don't know how to put it all in line. I can figure it out chronologically, but not quite logically. Anyhow, you heard my story about my weight. As you see, the camera's at a better angle now than it was during that story, because I wanted you to see what I see. I know this is more of it's slightly elevated. For those of you who are wondering, I haven't put anything away or tucked it up in. It's just the angle of the camera. This one today is about my adoption. And this may be more than one, because so many things came out of finding that out. Prior to finding out I was adopted, I was raised as basically an only child. I had a brother who was 25 years older than me. He didn't live around here on a regular basis, although they did move back and forth multiple times, him and his family. But I was raised as an only child. I was raised by two parents who were both working parents, factory workers. And, well, when I tell you the story, you'll understand the rest. So I got to go back to the parents that raised me, and they are my parents, for all of their wonderful gifts that they gave me, and the not being perfect. None of us are perfect. When when my mother was a young woman, I believe she was 15, like me, going on 16 though, when she had my brother that was 25 years older than me in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And I'm not sure if it was Oklahoma City, but I'm pretty sure that's where the birth took place. But anyhow, she got pregnant by a man that I have since learned, if all stories are true, and it sounds like a really cool story, so I'm going to assume it was. She loved it very much, but they were really, really young, and it was the mid-30s. So imagine getting pregnant out of wedlock in the South. I mean, it's not the South as I think of the South, but it was Oklahoma. Bible Belt country, and being unwed. As soon as it came out to his parents and the family my mom was living with, because she didn't always live with her mother. She got moved around from family member to family member. But as soon as it was all found out, it was arranged and there was a marriage. Although they weren't allowed to live together. But it was a marriage before the baby was born. So my mother had my brother. My mom was 5 foot on a good day, and my brother was 12 pounds. Yeah. She was a little teeny tiny woman, and I believe that is the reason why she wasn't able to have children after that. But to complete this story, I have to tell you more. And I only know what I've been told and what my niece and I have been able to gather for information. So it may not all be exactly correct, but this is what we know about it and what I know. My mother did not know who her father was. I only found that out when I was in my 20s, and she was filing for her Social Security and needed to put some names on her paperwork. That's when I found out she'd been married more than twice. There was a third marriage in the middle there that she had to find him and paperwork again. But anyhow, lost my place. Okay. Anyhow, she didn't have a great life. So the marriage was arranged by his family. And from everything I understand, she did love him. They loved each other very much. But they weren't allowed to be together. She raised my brother for 18 months. And he, by all the stories and by what I know of my history and the pictures I've seen of me, he was always well dressed, well fed. My mom was a perfect mother. And I don't imagine she was any different then. Maybe a little less experienced, but I don't imagine she was any different. And she loved him very much. As the story goes, she was leaving Oklahoma City and she was taking my brother with her. She was getting on a bus when his family showed up. His father's family showed up. And he was taken out of my mom's arms and given to his grandmother. She didn't really have any recourse, not in those days. So she had a child stolen from her. Literally, I mean, he was stolen. He was taken from her. She did not see him again until he was 16 years old. She was forbidden. Mostly because of shame and how women were shamed at that time. Fast forward 35 years, maybe? I don't know the exact numbers. My mom and dad are now married, and my mother is unable to have children. My dad's niece had been living with them for a while, and she got pregnant off the toilet seat. It's always been a family story that everybody chuckles at. I don't imagine it felt very good at the time for her, but she had the baby, a girl, and my parents raised her as theirs with every intention of adopting her. It took 1 year for an adoption in New York State at that time. I didn't mean to say that. Anyhow, it doesn't matter. They were living in New York State. Exactly 1 year to the date, from what I understand, my dad's brother and his wife the niece's father and mother, who were her mother, her biological mother, came to the house and took her away and told them they were going to raise her as theirs. That was baby number 2. Stolen. I know it wasn't her child, but she was raising it as her child. And my mother loved with every ounce of her heart. And her heart was broken again. When I became available, I was a friend's daughter. I was a friend's daughter's unborn child. I had 2 sisters who were older than me from the same father, who was no longer in the picture. From what I have been told, and I am a little biased in this area, so I will tell you right up front, I don't consider my birth mother a mother at all. She was the oven. And I'll tell you about why I feel that way when we get further into this story. But when I became available, she had already farmed out my other 2 sisters to other relatives, but they weren't up for adoption. Everything was done legally from the very beginning, even though there was still a 1-year waiting period for the adoption to be final. All the paperwork was in line. There was a contract. There were promises made and kept. And that's how they got me. The best thing my mother, I can't say that, the best thing my oven ever did in her life, as far as I'm concerned, and with what I have learned since finding out I was adopted, was giving me up. I just think it's such a shame she didn't do it for my sisters, because they would have had much better lives. But we can't change the past. So, and we'll get on to that maybe someday, but not now. And I won't say that we'll get on to all of that, because it's not my story to tell. But anyhow, that's how the adoption started. Excuse me. I've been told, I was told this by my father that raised me, that I was never to know. And my mother passed when I was 25 years old of cancer. And she took it to her grave. I was her child, and I was her child till the end. She'd already had 2 children stolen from her. I can't find fault with that. I've never even tried to find fault with it. My biggest issue when I found out I was adopted was I felt like I betrayed her. Because I found out. But it wasn't planned. I didn't go out looking. It was dropped in my lap. And I'm grateful for that, because I love my sisters with all my heart. Do I wish we had been raised together? Yes. In this home. Not in their home. But we can't change the past again. So that's how my adoption story begins. I was raised by two loving parents. My mother loved me with all of her heart, beyond reason, because I was terrible when I became a teenager. I was absolutely horrible, such a rebel. It all made sense once I found out about the adoption, and you'll find out about that too. But I had the best mom in the world. I know we all think that. And I know that your mom was the best mom in the world for you. But she chose me, even after all the heartache. She could have given up. She didn't. She chose me. My father drank a lot. My father was an alcoholic, although he would never use that word. He was an alcoholic. Anyone that knows him knows he was an alcoholic. But he wasn't a mean drunk. He just wasn't there a lot. He wasn't there a lot. But he wasn't a mean drunk, and he loved me. I know that. But my mom loved me more than anybody ever will or ever could. And like I said, I was terrible. And I lost her at 25. I still needed her so much. Still need her today. We never stop needing our moms, ever. Especially not the good ones. So that's part 1. I'm going to stop here because I really don't want to cry on camera, and I'm sure there are going to be points in my upcoming stories where I will, because I can't help it. I'm a very emotional person. I identify as an empath. I feel everything, which is both a blessing and a curse. So that's where my story ends for now. We will pick this up in the next one. If you take nothing else out of this, and you have the opportunity to tell somebody in your family that you love them and what they mean to you while they're here, do it. Because I can't. I say it every day, but you can't change the past. I'll see you